There is a Buddhist realization, so simple and so profound, that once you see it, life begins to feel alive again. Not because your problems disappear, but because you stop looking at life through the lens that created those problems in the first place. If you've lost your excitement for life, if your days feel repetitive, if you've achieved things you once dreamed of and still feel something is missing, this message is for you. You call it ambition, but what if it is constant dissatisfaction? You call it growth. But what if you have unknowingly trained yourself to reject the present moment? Buddhism teaches that most people are not suffering because life is empty. They suffer because they have lost contact with life itself. In this video, you'll discover why ordinary moments lost their magic, why the future keeps stealing your peace, and the ancient realization that can make you fall in love with your life again in a way most people never experience. The secret contract of dissatisfaction. What if the reason you cannot love your life is not because life is lacking, but because somewhere deep inside you made a silent agreement that nothing is ever enough? Most people never notice this contract. It hides beneath ambition, self-improvement, and even hope. It whispers, "I will allow myself peace after success arrives, after the wound heals, after someone finally understands me, after certainty replaces fear." And while the mind waits for permission to live, life continues moving. A quiet evening passes. A loved one grows older. A simple moment arrives and disappears forever. The tragedy is not suffering itself. The tragedy is postponing aliveness. A wise teaching says, "The prison was never locked, only your conditions were." Sit with that for a moment. How many years have been spent standing at the doorway of life, refusing to enter because reality did not match the picture in your mind? Imagine a traveler preparing for a magnificent feast. Every day, he polishes his cup, believing he must be ready before he can sit at the table. He polishes it for years. He waits for the perfect moment. He waits until he feels worthy. Only at the end of his journey does he discover the feast had been served all around him the entire time. Many people live this way. They spend decades preparing to live instead of living. Right now, wherever you are, look around the room. Notice 3 ordinary objects, perhaps a chair, a cup, a window touched by light. Now imagine never seeing them again. Feel what happens inside you. The ordinary suddenly becomes precious. The overlooked becomes sacred. The life you thought was incomplete begins revealing quiet forms of beauty that were hidden behind expectation. This is one of the deepest realizations in Buddhist philosophy. Most people do not lose their love for life. They lose their ability to see the life that is already here. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been waiting for before allowing yourself peace? Which condition secretly controls your happiness? And if that condition never arrived, would this life still be worthy of your love? The answer to that question may change everything. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "My happiness begins from here too," living inside tomorrow. Why does every achievement lose its power faster than expected? The answer is uncomfortable because it challenges one of the deepest assumptions of the human mind. We are taught that fulfillment lives somewhere ahead of us. One more promotion, one more relationship, one more breakthrough, one more version of ourselves. The mind survives by making promises. It whispers softly, "Just one more step," and for a moment we believe it. Then the goal arrives. The promotion comes. The dream becomes reality. The thing that once kept us awake with excitement slowly becomes ordinary. Before long, the mind points toward another horizon. This is not failure. This is the machinery of craving. A Buddhist teaching reminds us that suffering often begins when we mistake the next destination for salvation. The mind becomes obsessed with tomorrow because tomorrow never asks us to fully face today. That is why so many people spend years running toward life while feeling strangely disconnected from it. As one wise reflection says, tomorrow is the favorite hiding place of an unhappy mind. Pause and look closely at your own journey. 5 years ago, there was something you desperately wanted. Perhaps more money, more freedom, more confidence, more recognition. Bring that goal into your awareness. Remember how important it felt. Now notice what happened after it arrived. How quickly did it become normal? How quickly did gratitude fade into expectation? This is the hidden pattern most people never see. It is like chasing sunlight across a valley. No matter how far you walk, the light appears to move further away. The destination keeps changing because the problem was never distance. The problem was believing that peace existed somewhere else. The future is useful for planning, but it becomes dangerous when it becomes a substitute for living. The deepest realization is not that goals are meaningless. Goals can guide your path. The realization is that fulfillment cannot be postponed until they are achieved, because a life spent worshipping tomorrow slowly abandons today. So ask yourself honestly, which future are you currently worshipping? What promise keeps you running? And what if the peace you seek has never been waiting at the end of the journey? What if it has been quietly walking beside you this entire time, waiting for you to finally notice it? 3. The war against reality. Why are two people living through the same event, but suffering in completely different ways? One loses a job and discovers a new path. Another loses the same job and carries bitterness for years. One grows through heartbreak. Another becomes trapped inside it. The event may be similar, the suffering is not. This is one of the most powerful realizations in Buddhist philosophy. Suffering is often not created by what happens. It is created by our argument with what has already happened. Rain falls from the sky. One person gets wet and continues walking. Another spends the entire day angry that the rain arrived. Reality wounded neither of them. Resistance did. The mind has a habit of fighting facts. It keeps replaying the same sentence. This should not be happening. Yet reality remains unchanged. The only thing being exhausted is the person repeating the argument. A wise teaching says pain enters through life. Suffering enters through refusal. Pause for a moment and feel the weight of those words. Much of human exhaustion comes from trying to negotiate with things that have already occurred. The past has spoken. The moment has arrived. Yet the mind continues its protest, hoping frustration can rewrite reality. But frustration has never changed a fact. It has only consumed energy. Imagine a river flowing through a valley. It never complains about the rocks. It never demands that the mountain move. It simply flows around what exists and continues toward the ocean. Only humans try to bend mountains with frustration. Only humans spend years fighting realities that have already taken their place in the landscape of life. Right now, bring to mind something you cannot change. Perhaps it is a loss, a disappointment, a mistake, a circumstance you wish were different. For one slow breath, stop mentally correcting it. Do not approve of it. Do not condemn it. Simply allow it to exist. Notice what happens. Beneath resistance, there is often a quiet space that has been waiting for your attention. A space untouched by the struggle. So, ask yourself honestly, what reality are you currently arguing with? What would remain if resistance disappeared? And how much of your precious life energy is being spent fighting facts instead of living the life that is still here? The answer may reveal that peace begins where the argument ends. 4. The exhaustion of control. What if your greatest source of stress is not uncertainty, but your addiction to controlling uncertainty? Most people spend their lives believing control creates safety. They try to predict every outcome, prevent every mistake, and secure every corner of the future. They tell themselves that if they can just manage life well enough, peace will finally arrive. Yet something strange happens. The tighter they grip life, the more anxious they become, because anxiety is often not born from uncertainty itself. It is born from the impossible task of trying to eliminate uncertainty. Life was never designed to be controlled. It was designed to be participated in. A wise teaching says, "A clenched hand cannot receive." Pause and consider how many moments of your life have been spent trying to force an outcome, trying to make someone understand you, trying to guarantee success, trying to ensure that nothing painful ever happens again. Beneath every attempt to control life, there is usually a hidden fear. The fear of loss, the fear of disappointment, the fear of not being enough if things do not go according to plan. But control is often fear wearing the mask of responsibility, and the mind rarely notices the difference. Imagine holding water in your palm. The harder you squeeze, the faster it escapes between your fingers. What you hope to preserve is lost because of the pressure itself. Many people treat life this way. They grip relationships too tightly and lose connection. They grip success too tightly and lose joy. They grip certainty too tightly and lose peace. The problem is not caring. The problem is believing that caring requires. Right now, close your fist tightly in your imagination. Feel the tension in the hand. Feel the effort required to keep it closed. Now, slowly release. Notice the softness that enters. Notice the space. Notice the relief. Freedom often enters life through the same doorway, not through controlling more, through loosening the grip, through trusting that not everything must be managed for life to be meaningful. So ask yourself honestly, what are you trying to control that cannot truly be controlled? What fear is hiding beneath that effort? And if you loosened your grip even slightly, would life become more dangerous, or would it finally become lighter? Sometimes, the beginning of peace is not gaining control. It is discovering that you never needed as much of it as you thought. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "My happiness begins from here." 5. The forgotten art of flow. If surrender is not weakness, then what is it? Many people hear the word surrender and immediately think of defeat. They imagine giving up, lowering their standards, or accepting a life that falls short of their dreams. But true surrender is something entirely different. Defeat says, "Nothing matters." Flow says, "Everything matters, but I no longer fight reality." One closes the heart, the other opens it. This is a realization many people spend years avoiding. They exhaust themselves trying to force life into a shape it refuses to take. They push against closed doors, replay old disappointments, and demand answers from seasons of life that are still unfolding. Then they wonder why they feel tired. A wise teaching reminds us, the strongest tree bends before the storm. Strength is not always found in resistance. Sometimes strength is found in flexibility. Imagine a field of bamboo standing beneath a violent hurricane. Massive trees crack and fall under the pressure. Yet the bamboo survives, not because it is stronger than the storm, but because it knows when not to resist. There is wisdom hidden in that image. Many of life's greatest lessons arrive disguised as unwanted circumstances. A delay teaches patience, a loss teaches appreciation, a failure teaches humility. Yet, when we spend all our energy resisting the lesson, we miss the gift hidden within it. Pause for a moment and bring your attention to your breath. Notice how the inhale arrives naturally. You do not force it. Notice how the exhale leaves naturally. You do not chase it. Life already understands flow. Nature already understands flow. Only the human mind believes every moment must be controlled. The deeper truth is that peace often arrives when struggle softens. Not because problems disappear, but because the war against them ends. This is not passivity. This is cooperation with reality. This is trusting that life can still teach, guide, and transform you, even when it does not follow your preferred plan. So ask yourself honestly, where are you forcing life right now? What would cooperation look like instead? And are you resisting a lesson that has been patiently waiting to teach you something your struggle cannot? Sometimes the path forward appears the moment you stop pulling against it. 6. The death of wonder. Why do children find magic everywhere while adults find it nowhere? A child can spend 10 minutes watching sunlight dance across a wall. They can become fascinated by a falling leaf, a passing cloud, or the sound of rain against a window. Yet an adult can walk through an entire day surrounded by beauty and remember almost none of it. What changed? It was not life. It was attention. Many people believe joy comes from possessing more success, more status, more experiences. But one of the deepest insights in philosophy is that meaning is not created by possessions, it is created by presence. Attention is what transforms an ordinary moment into a living experience. When attention leaves the present, life slowly turns grey. The morning coffee becomes automatic. The familiar face becomes invisible. The evening sky becomes background scenery. And then people wonder why life feels empty. A wise reflection says, wonder disappears when familiarity replaces presence. Think about that carefully. The problem is not that beauty vanished. The problem is that habit covered it. Imagine discovering a diamond buried beneath years of dust. To someone who sees only the dust, it appears to be a common stone. Yet the diamond never lost its value. It was simply overlooked. Life often works the same way. The things we pray for are frequently the things we stop noticing. Health becomes normal until illness arrives. Time with loved ones becomes ordinary until separation comes. Simple mornings become invisible until they can no longer be experienced. This is how wonder quietly dies, not through loss, through unconsciousness. Right now, imagine holding a cup of tea. Feel its warmth. Notice its weight. Experience it as though you have never touched such a thing before. Something remarkable happens when attention returns. Life begins returning too, not because circumstances changed, because awareness changed. The ordinary starts revealing its hidden depth. The familiar becomes alive again, and the world you thought had lost its magic begins to feel sacred. So ask yourself, honestly, when was the last time you truly noticed life? What beauty have you normalized? And how much of your day is actually lived rather than simply passed through? Perhaps the life you are searching for is hidden inside the moments you have stopped seeing. 7. Success cannot save you. Why do so many successful people still feel empty? It is a question that quietly follows humanity through every generation. People spend years chasing achievement, believing fulfillment waits at the next milestone. They imagine that once they reach the summit, the restlessness inside them will finally disappear. Yet many arrive at the top, carrying the same emptiness they had at the bottom. Because success can solve many problems. It can create opportunities. It can provide comfort. It can earn recognition. But it cannot answer one of the deepest questions of the human heart. Who am I when the applause ends? The world teaches achievement. Wisdom teaches relationship. The world asks what you have accomplished. Wisdom asks whether you have learned how to be present with yourself. A thoughtful saying reminds us, the ladder matters less than the wall it rests against. Many people never stop to examine the wall. They climb faster, work harder, accumulate more, yet they never ask why they are climbing in the first place. And so they reach heights they once dreamed of, only to discover they have arrived somewhere that cannot nourish the soul. Imagine a bird living inside a cage made entirely of gold. The bars shine beautifully. Others admire it. Some even envy it. Yet the bird remains trapped. Many people build lives that look impressive from the outside while feeling disconnected within. Golden cages are still cages. This is one of the great turning points in spiritual understanding. The issue is not success itself. The issue is believing success can tell you who you are. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine every title removed, every accomplishment, every award, every role, every label. What remains? Who remains? At first, the question may feel uncomfortable, but beneath that discomfort is freedom. Because your worth was never created by achievement. Achievement can express your gifts. It cannot create your identity. The deepest peace arrives when success becomes something you do, not something you are. So ask yourself honestly, what are you trying to prove? Who would you be without achievement? And is success serving your life, or has it quietly become the thing defining it? The moment you stop measuring your value by what you accomplish, you begin discovering the part of yourself that never needed proving in the first place. We'd love to hear your thoughts. 8. The courage to let life change. Why does change feel like loss, even when it is necessary? Why do people cling to chapters that have already ended, relationships that have already shifted, or versions of themselves they have already outgrown? The answer is deeply human. Attachment often mistakes permanence for safety. The mind believes that if something remains unchanged, it can finally relax. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to believe that what it loves will stay exactly as it is. But life has never made that promise. Not youth, not success, not pain, not failure. Everything moves, everything changes. Everything flows from one season into another. This is not a flaw in life. It is the nature of life itself. A wise reflection says, life suffers when movement is mistaken for betrayal. Pause with those words for a moment. Many of our deepest struggles begin when we interpret change as something personal. We act as though life has turned against us because a chapter is ending. Yet endings are often the very mechanism through which growth enters. Imagine a leaf hanging from a tree in autumn. Its suffering begins only when it forgets it belongs to the season. The leaf is not being punished. The tree is not abandoning it. The season is simply doing what seasons do, and life often works the same way. Many experiences that once felt painful later revealed unexpected gifts. A closed door redirected your path. A loss deepened your wisdom. A difficult chapter taught strengths you never knew existed. At the time, all you could see was the ending. Only later could you see the transformation. Bring to mind a painful season from your own life, perhaps something you never wanted to happen. Now look carefully. What did it teach you? What did it reveal? What strength emerged because of it? You may discover that change carried gifts hidden beneath discomfort. This is where courage begins, not in controlling change, not in avoiding it, but in trusting that movement does not always mean loss. Sometimes it means becoming. So ask yourself honestly, what season are you refusing to leave? What ending are you still resisting? And could the very change you fear be guiding you toward a version of yourself that your current chapter can no longer contain? The moment you stop fighting the season, you begin receiving its wisdom. 9. Returning to the ordinary sacred. What if the life you have been searching for is hidden inside the life you keep overlooking? Many people spend years chasing extraordinary experiences. They believe fulfillment lives somewhere distant, on the other side of success, a different city, a different relationship, or a future version of themselves. Their eyes remain fixed on what is missing, while life quietly unfolds beneath their feet. And that is the final illusion. The belief that what is sacred must also be dramatic. Yet the deepest wisdom teaches the opposite. Existence rarely arrives with fanfare. It arrives softly, a sunrise that asks nothing from you, a conversation that warms a lonely heart, a breath that enters your body without effort. A quiet evening passes unnoticed because the mind is somewhere else. Life whispers before it ever shouts. Most people miss these moments not because they lack beauty, but because attention has been taken away by distraction. The mind becomes obsessed with the next achievement, the next problem, the next destination. Meanwhile, the miracle of being alive waits patiently in the background. Imagine spending your whole life searching for a treasure chest hidden somewhere far away. You travel endlessly, you climb mountains, you cross oceans, only to discover, at the end of the journey, that the treasure was buried beneath the house you kept trying to escape. This is how many people relate to their own lives. They overlook today's blessings while searching for tomorrow's miracles. But the realization that changes everything is this: the ordinary is not ordinary when you are fully present. It becomes sacred. Pause for a moment. Listen to the very next sound around you. Do not label it. Do not judge it. Simply receive it completely. For one brief moment, let nothing else exist. Notice how life instantly becomes more vivid, more intimate, more alive. This is not a technique. It is a return to the reality that has been waiting for your attention all along. So ask yourself honestly, what ordinary miracle have you overlooked today? What beauty is hidden beneath distraction? And are you searching too far away for something that has been quietly beside you this whole time? Perhaps the greatest Buddhist realization is not that you must find a better life. It is that when presence returns, you finally discover the beauty of the life that was already here. 10. The end of psychological waiting. We cling to how we think life should be. We create rigid expectations, telling ourselves, I will only be happy if I achieve this goal. If this relationship lasts forever, if nothing changes, but life does not work that way, it never has. And the tighter we hold on, the more we suffer when things naturally change. Letting go of control does not mean giving up. It does not mean passivity or carelessness. In Buddhism, there is a practice called Wu Wei, which means effortless action or non-doing. This is not about doing nothing, but about acting in harmony with the natural flow of life. It is like sailing a boat. You cannot command the wind, but you can adjust your sails to move with it. Imagine yourself in a small boat on the vast ocean. If you try to control the waves, you will exhaust yourself and sink. But if you learn to move with them, to flow and adapt, you discover that even the roughest seas can be crossed with grace. Life is much the same. When we accept that we cannot control the ocean, we begin to find peace within its depths. There is another story of a monk who lived at the top of a mountain. One day, a villager climbed up to warn him. A great storm is coming. You must leave before it is too late. The monk smiled and replied, If the storm comes, I will welcome it. The villager was shocked. But you might die, he exclaimed. The monk answered calmly, If I die, I accept death. If I live, I accept life. Whatever comes, I will accept it. This is not the acceptance of defeat. It is the acceptance of wisdom. It is understanding that while we can make choices and take action, we cannot force life to bend to our will. We do what we can, but we release our grip on the outcome. Think of your own life. How many times has something that seemed like a disaster later revealed itself as a hidden gift? A job loss that led you to a more meaningful path. A heartbreak that taught you how to love yourself. A failure that revealed your hidden strengths. Uncertainty is not your enemy. It is life's way of keeping you open, humble, and aware of the endless possibilities beyond your imagination. Buddhism teaches that peace does not come from removing uncertainty, but from learning to live with it gracefully. When we release our fear of the unknown, we awaken to a freedom we never thought possible. We stop wasting energy trying to control every detail and begin living fully in the present moment. We begin to trust that whatever comes our way, we will find the strength and wisdom to move through it. Ask yourself today, how many times has the unexpected turned into a blessing? Do I really need every answer right now? Am I missing the beauty of this moment because I am too worried about a future that has not happened yet? Life is not something to control. It is something to be lived, breath by breath, choice by choice, with trust and openness. When you stop fighting the flow, you find a calmness and clarity that nothing outside of you can give. Peace is not about knowing what tomorrow holds. Peace is knowing that whatever it holds, you will be ready. Lesson 5. The Path to Awakening. Seeing life as your silent teacher, life often feels like a puzzle missing its final piece. There are days when everything flows easily, and then there are days when life feels heavy, confusing, or unbearably painful. We find ourselves wondering why things happen the way they do. Why do we lose what we love? Why do plans collapse when we have done everything right? Why does suffering feel so unavoidable? Buddhism offers us a simple yet deep truth. Every event in life is part of our awakening. Enlightenment is not something we find outside ourselves, hidden in distant monasteries or remote mountain caves. It is not a reward given only to saints or sages. Enlightenment is already within us, quietly waiting to be seen. But how do we awaken to it through life itself? Every moment, every joy, every sorrow, every confusion serves as a quiet teacher guiding us back to ourselves. The difficult moments are not obstacles to awakening. They are the very path that leads us there. Think for a moment about the times you grew the most as a person. Were they days when everything was easy, when the world bent to your will and your heart felt no pain? Or were they the days when life tested your limits, when grief carved rivers through your soul, when failure broke your illusions, when fear forced you to face your deepest insecurities? We do not grow when we are comfortable. We grow when life pushes us beyond what we thought we could handle. Just as the lotus must rise through thick mud to bloom above the water's surface, we too must move through life's pressures to discover our true nature. There is an old Buddhist saying, "Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional." We cannot avoid pain. It is part of being alive. But suffering comes from resisting pain, refusing to accept what is, and insisting life should follow our expectations. Awakening happens when we change our perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" In that moment, we move from being victims of circumstance to becoming students of life. We begin to realize that every experience, no matter how painful, carries a lesson, a small light guiding us toward understanding. Imagine life as a vast river carrying us forward. The calm stretches are peaceful, soothing us into stillness, but it is the rapids, the sudden drops, and the hidden rocks that teach us how to steer, how to strengthen our grip, and how to trust the journey, even when we cannot see what lies ahead. In Buddhism, enlightenment is not a final destination. It is not a place we reach where all problems disappear and life becomes perfect. Enlightenment is a deep awareness, a clear seeing that rises within us when we begin to live each moment with openness and acceptance. It is the understanding that nothing is ever wasted. Every person you meet, every heartbreak you experience, every challenge you face is shaping you into the person you are meant to become. Even mistakes are sacred. They humble us, teach us compassion, and remind us that we are always learning. If life feels confusing or painful right now, remember this: the universe is not punishing you. You are not being abandoned. You are being guided, shaped, and refined. Like gold placed in the hottest fire, your soul is being purified to reveal its truest shine. Ask yourself today, What is life trying to teach me through this situation? How can I grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate through this challenge? What illusions about myself or life is this experience asking me to release? When you begin to see life this way, even the darkest days become meaningful. You realize that awakening is not found by avoiding challenges, but by walking through them with an open heart. There is a Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Life does not change after awakening. What changes is how we see it. The same ordinary moments become sacred. The same painful events become stepping stones, and the same unanswered questions become chances to trust. So if life feels heavy today, if you are facing something you do not understand, trust that this too is part of your journey. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted. Every experience is shaping you into the highest version of yourself, the version that sees life not as an enemy to conquer, but as a teacher to embrace. Awakening is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you have always been beneath the fears, doubts, and illusions. As you reach the end of this journey today, remember, life was never meant to be perfectly understood. It was meant to be lived moment by moment with an open heart. Every joy you experience, every sorrow you face, every uncertainty you move through is guiding you back to yourself. You do not need to control every detail of your life to find peace. You do not need all the answers to feel calm. All you need is the courage to trust that whatever life brings, it is shaping you into someone wiser, stronger, and more compassionate than before. So take a deep breath right now. Feel the silent rhythm of life moving through you. Know that you are exactly where you need to be. Nothing is missing from this moment. If this video brought you peace, clarity, or strength today, I invite you to join our community on this path of awakening. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Together, we will continue exploring the timeless wisdom of Buddhism to transform how we live, love, and grow. And before you leave, share in the comments, what is life teaching you right now? Your reflections might become the light someone else needs on their journey today. Thank you for walking this path with me. Until next time, may you flow with life's silent wisdom. May your heart remain open, and may you always remember, everything you seek is already within you.